Hello, this is Jcamera here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the LEGO Simpsons minifigure blind bag Series 1 review, which released in 2014, containing 16 minifigures. And that's all I have to say on that. So, here is the packaging. We of course get the blue background with a lot of the iconic Simpsons cast right here, and we have this part that you can just either tear apart or use scissors on, and of course it says 5+. The set number is 71005, and it's got the Simpsons logo there. And then, yeah, just information on there, nothing important. And then we got some checklists. This is the one that I personally use because I like to showcase different aspects and all that. I'll just put that to the side for now. So here is the checklist. Of course, you get LEGO minifigures and LEGO Simpsons on there. And it shows up 16 minifigures. And there's a number for each of them. And it shows the order. And of course, I have aligned the order as such. And it shows some of the different accessories. We got the websites there. And then we get like a checklist of different pieces, accessories, and head molds. And you can sort of see this as baby's first instructions, because we get like different minifigure bits and different accessories, and it shows you how to do that. And yeah, that's all I have to say. And of course the bases, and then the skateboard for Bart, and then the various accessories, which I'll also be taking a look at as I get to each character. And all 16 minifigures have unique molds, which is cool. I also want to say this right now. I don't know if I'm in the minority or not, but I am glad LEGO made new custom molded heads for these characters instead of just using minifigure heads with prints, because Simpsons actually had an episode on the show, Brick Like Me. It was called Brick Like Me, and it had LEGO, like Simpsons in LEGO with the minifigure heads, and it looks very cursed to me. I don't really care for it. I think these designs suit the characters much better. It's the only way to make them not look uncanny in the LEGO universe, in my opinion. They even used these designs for LEGO Dimensions, which is really cool. I guess the one downside to this, though, would be that you can't really make customs for characters as easily, which sucks, but what are you gonna do? First up is essentially the main character of the show, Homer Simpson. Would we agree he's the main character? I don't know if it's said or not, but I always saw him as the main character. Besides, he's also listed first. But anyway, here he is. He has no back printing. I should also mention that some of these characters appeared in the Simpsons house set, which came out the same year, 2014. And the following characters: Homer, Bart, Marge, Lisa, Maggie, and Ned Flanders, and I want to say that was it, appeared in those sets with slightly different versions. This one, of course, doesn't have the tie and all that, and has a different face, more dopey and neutral, rather than the more emotive face, but I think it works a little better here, at least in my opinion. Later on, he got like different pant colors, like slightly different colors, and he also had back printing, but I think this one works, in my opinion. Of course, it comes with a donut accessory and remote accessory. I think he was the first minifigure to include them. Like, I think those accessories were either introduced with the Simpsons house, or if not introduced from that set, through here, which is pretty cool, if you say so myself. And I think this figure translates very well with, like, the line showing off Homer's belly. Like, it makes him look fat, but not too fat, which he's surprisingly slimmer compared to some of the other characters, but he's clearly still fat, which I really like, and I think LEGO did capture that pretty well. And he also has dual molded arms, which I don't know if this was actually the first time minifigures had that, again, alongside the Simpsons set, but it was relatively new territory. Like, I don't know if it was unheard of, but it was relatively new at the time. So that's really cool, in my opinion. Next up, we have Bart Simpson. His accessory is this skateboard, which is printed on with red. And here's one of my criticisms. I think Bart should have had an orange torso. I mean, I think in red it works okay, but you do sort of notice it. Like in some shots, it does look a little orange. I don't know how they did it, but it's clearly meant to be red. And on the back of the figure, we also have a slingshot, which, for context, in the Simpsons set, this figure is the same, except it didn't have the slingshot. It also had a slightly different face, I think, but he also had a slingshot accessory in that set, but because they had to include Mini CMF as a regular variant, they had to change it up, and this was their way of doing it, and I think, fair enough, but personally, I would have liked it if we got this version in a set instead, and then in a CMF, we could have gotten the one in a set. Other than the heads. I think the heads are perfect for that. So this is the first time we got dual molded legs for short figures. I know for a fact this was the first, because when I looked up short legs on like Bricklink and all that, this is always the one that comes up first, in terms of when it came out at least, so that's cool. And if you don't need Bart to be on his base, if you really want to, you can have him be here, which is really cool, and you can have him skateboard, and there's just enough pegs to do that, and you can also hold the skateboard if you really want to, which is really cool, and yeah, that's all I have to say for him. Up next is the mother of the Simpsons family, Marge Simpson. And she is by far the tallest figure of the line, which makes sense because of her blue hair, and it's accurate to the show. And of course, she comes with Donut Fancy, a 2x2 tile as an accessory, and a little handbag. And pretty good printing with sort of a lime green, which really suits as well. And she's got the necklace and the negative printed lines to show the hips, which is cool. One criticism I also have this line, and this applies to... I think it only applies to one other figure in the line, and we'll get to her soon enough, but I do not like how the skirts are done. Like, there's meant to be 3 different holes for them, but you can never really line them up perfectly, which I really hate. I'm glad that when Simpsons returned last year in 2025, when they had to do Lisa again, they changed it. I am so thankful. Like, that's a great quality of life change. But if you can look past that, it's fine. I think it definitely suits the minifigure, but it should have been done a lot better. Next up, we have the middle child of the family, Lisa Simpson. So Homer's the dad, Marge is the mum, Bart is the only boy of the children and the eldest child, and yeah. So this is what I was talking about earlier with the skirts. Again, it looks nice, and I think the figure does call for it, at least in my opinion, but it does not wrap around at all. I'm glad they remedied this when they did the latest version of her, and I think just like with Bart, she should have been like an orange color. I think it works okay with her, but you do kind of notice it. And of course, it is covered up by the skirt, but you can see that she has dual molded short legs as well. And of course, she has a white necklace, and her only accessory is a saxophone, but I think it works, it makes sense. And you can have her singing it like this and all that. Okay, let me put it back on. Yeah, I'll see. Oh yeah, no, so every single character that was in these sets, or at least the majority of them, had different faces, which I really appreciate. It helps distinguish them, and I think these are also a little more usable, and they fit the characters maybe just a little bit more. I mean, their expressions aren't perfect, a little too neutral, but I think it does work. And the youngest child of the family, or the baby of the family, is Maggie Simpson. Her accessory is this stuffed bear, which is really destroyed. And yeah, she has this big baby thing, and I think she's the biggest infant character LEGO has ever made. I do wish she was smaller, but if they wanted her to have her own figure, it makes sense, especially with how accessory heavy, say, Marge was, for example. Like, they could have maybe had her be an accessory to Marge, and then that frees up a spot for maybe another character, but honestly, it makes sense. If we're going to have any infant character within any franchise get her own spot, it should be Maggie, so fair enough. And her face is quite different. She's actually more emotive than the rest of the family, which is funny because in this set, she had a neutral face in this set. But here, she has the expressive one, while the rest of the family is the opposite. I don't know why that was the case. I'm not complaining, I'm just wondering. Like, it's just a thought, but that is interesting. And, yeah, it's a stuffed bear accessory. Not much really talk about with Maggie, but yeah. And the final member of the Simpsons family in this CMF is Abraham Lincoln, or Grandpa Simpson. Yeah, the father of Homer, of course. And yeah, this is an accessory which is pretty funny. Yeah, like, it looks almost exactly the same as in the show, which is funny. And like, this is a pretty cool reference for Simpsons fans, which I appreciate. He doesn't have back printing, which, yeah, that's fine. Cool head. He's more expressive, but it also fits his character, and also because it's the first time we're seeing him, so it makes sense. He has light grey legs. Yeah, honestly, other than the newspaper, I don't really know what else they could have had as an accessory, and it's cool to see him. Like, he's a vital character, it's cool. Translation, yeah. Finally, moving away from the Simpsons family, we have their next-door neighbor, Ned Flanders. And his accessories include a mug that says, I love Southpaws, or I heart Southpaws, and then a toolkit that says property of Ned Flanders. That's cool. A lot of minifigures have no back printing. Some of them do, but some of them don't. Yeah, he has the glasses, the big mustache and hair. He translates very well. Yeah, Ned Flanders is a cool character to have. He was also in a set. His difference is that he had, like, what is it called? An apron on, like, Kiss the Chef or something. I think Marge also had something similar as well in that set. And then, yeah. That's all I have to say on that. Here is Krusty Clown, whose only accessory is a cream pie. I think they could have given Krusty a monkey accessory to represent his chimpanzee pal that he has in the show. He appears in the Lego Dimensions sets unchanged, like when that was a thing, and he also appeared in the Krusty Burgers set, but in a different outfit. Again, he doesn't have printing. I like his head is sort of like, it's not white, but it's not yellow either. It's an in-between. It's meant to be clown makeup on the yellow head, and I think they really captured that really well. And like with Homer Simpson, they got the belly just right, because he should be roughly the same portions as Homer, which is cool. And I will say, as a kid, I always thought, for some reason, that Krusty was just Homer dressed up as a clown. Because, like, they have, like, the same beard and same head shape and the same physical portions. I'm probably alone on that, but that's just something I felt like sharing. Now we have a few child characters, like, I was going to say in Bart's year level, but I mean, Millhouse is definitely Barty level, but I think some of the others might be, well, I know one coming up is Lisa's level, but anyway. The accessory is a comic involving the Biclops superhero, which is cool. Easter egg for the fans. He also has no printing on the torso, unlike every other character. I think this is the only figure in the line, unless you maybe count Maggie, but that's sort of a mold, that doesn't have printing, which is interesting. And, like, same as, I think, I was going to say the rest of the kid characters, but all but one, they all have dual printing on the legs. In fact, I think they're also red, like the same as Lisa, which is interesting. And yeah, he's the only character to appear in Series 2 that isn't from the Simpsons family, which is interesting. I mean, it makes sense why, but I'll get to that when I get to Series 2. Yeah, he translates pretty well. Next up is Ralph Wiggum. I really love the accessory they gave him, the I Choose You Valentine's card that he had in the season 4 episode, where Lisa wants to be nice and give Ralph a Valentine's gift. He has no back printing, and he was the figure that I said had no printing on the legs. Actually, no, I forgot there's one more. I was just thinking about the kid characters, so I made a mistake there, but out of the kid characters, he's the only one that just has basic legs. And he has pretty cool hairpiece. Not hairpiece, but printing on the hair, which is really cool. Yeah, I'll be honest, Ralph Wiggum is not one of my favorite Simpsons characters. He's never been one of my favorites. But it's cool to see him here. He's a pretty prominent character in the show, and he translates very well, and he does make for a nice addition. And it makes sense why he's here, of course. Next up, we have Apu. No, we're not taking a dump. His name is Apu. I just wanted to make a joke there. And here's the accessory. He has a little squishy drink, which he sells at the Quickie Mart. He also appears in that very set with a different outfit. He has plain tan legs, which is cool. No printing on the back. And he's one of the few figures that isn't yellow. I mean, Krusty was mostly non-yellow, but he had like the dual molded arms. I will say he's a figure that if this series came out today, he would not have been picked because of the controversy around Apu being supposedly a racist stereotype. I disagree with that, but we'd be here all day, or like, let's not here or there, let's not talk about that. But here he is, he translates great, and I think he was a great inclusion, and I'm glad, this makes me glad this was made in 2014, because if this was made back when Simpsons came back, he would not be here. And the final of the child characters is Nelson Muntz. His accessory is a baseball bat, which is really cool. He has the dual molded legs, I think the same as Bart, which is really cool. Dual molded arms. He actually has orange, but it's like a sort of dirty orange. I don't know if there's a color for it. No, not a color. Like, there's a name for this color in Lego, but it's still cool. I will say, oh yeah, Neo says no back printing. I will say that out of the figures in this line, he is easily the worst translation. I think for 2014 standards, they did the best they could, but I think if he was made nowadays, they would give him medium legs, because he looks pretty puny, like he's meant to be the school bully, and like compare him next to Bart. In the show, Nelson should be about the same size at least for Bart, maybe even bigger, but I know it's because of the heads, but even because of the torso, Nelson looks tiny by comparison. Like, again, they did the best they could, but it's still an unfortunate circumstance. But still, it's a great inclusion, but, like, maybe if they made the head a bit bigger, or, I mean, other than making him have medium legs, I really don't see a way they could have made him better, but that is a downside to this CMF being released when it was, because on the one hand, we get Apu being here, but on the other hand, we get a not bad translation of Nelson. It's an okay translation, but he's notably one of the weaker figures of this lineup. But I'm glad to have him here. I really like the character, so it's cool. Next up, we have Itchy, who comes with a caveman club, which is really cool and really fits the character. And he's one of the few characters that, again, doesn't have yellow. He has no printing on her torso, and he's the other character, like Ralph, that has short legs without printing. It was a mistake when I said otherwise first, but then I corrected myself. But here we are. He looks great. He has white hands. He has orange and this sort of baby blue, this sort of medium blue, light blue shade. Yeah, that's all I have to say on him. And here's the other half of the Itchy and Scratchy duo, Scratchy himself. He comes with an axe, which looks really cool, the red and silver printing, which is cool. He has white hands, and again, one of the few with no yellow on him. He comes with a tail, which is really cool, and he has no back printing. And yeah, plain dark grey legs, or bluish grey, if we want to be technical. Yeah, that's all I have to say on him. On to our penultimate figure of this line, we have Chief Wiggum, who comes with 2 accessories. I really like this microphone they gave him with 2 different colors, which if I am correct, we never actually see. And he also has arm printing, which, unless you count the dual molded arms, we don't actually see in any of the figures. Of course, he still doesn't have back printing, but still. He's also one of the few with leg printing. Unless we count the dual molding on the short figures, he's the only one to have it, which is really cool. I will say he is one of the weaker figures when it comes to the translation, because he's meant to be meant to be on the fatter side for characters, but even though it definitely translates with the head and at least make him tall, which he should be regardless, I'd be even angrier if he was short, but he has no printing on there. If they drew up some lines on the torso, then I think it would have fixed the issue for Chief Wiggum. It would have been an easy fix, personally. At least with Nelson, even though I think he's a worse figure overall for translation, I can at least excuse it. Here it's like there was no excuse, but it really doesn't look as bad. But I'm still glad he's here, and yeah, if you gotta have him, you may as well have Ralph, of course. And he also appears in, I believe, the Quickie Mart set with like donut splashes everywhere on the face and torso. And last but not least, we have Mr. Burns, one of the antagonists of the show, which is really cool. He comes with this sort of radioactive bar accessory, which before I got this figure, I thought it was going to be like the green lightsaber piece for the Star Wars Jedi figures, but surprisingly no, it's actually shorter than them, which I did not expect, but it makes sense. And then you have this fish bowl, that mutated fish, and he comes with a dark green suit, which is really cool. Very little printing, and something that I was surprised by is that his head is actually like sort of a soft rubber. Not like soft, but it's clearly not a hard plastic either. Like, compare that to, say, Krusty, who clearly has a rough, hard head. And you can even feel it as well, and like you can notice it when putting it on. So yeah, that's all I have to say on that. And I also like that they drew on the printing there, which I didn't have to do, but it's appreciated. And yeah, that's an in-depth look on all of the figures. Overall, I really like this line. It's, unless you really poke holes on the figures, like, unless you go out of your way to look for problems, it's really hard to really fault this line. I think it's a very solid lineup. There's only, like, a couple figures you could really poke holes at for translation. Oh yeah, like, in terms of, like, Chief Wiggum and Nelson, but also, I think Bart and Lisa could have also been, like, orange, but, like, yeah, they're mostly small issues. I think in terms of the characters they chose, they're very prominent characters and well-loved characters, and I think they made the right choices. Like, there are other characters I would like to see, but that's more of an issue I personally take with Series 2, and speaking of which, I will be making a video on that one shortly after this one, hopefully, depending on when these come out. And this was also a first for LEGO, because this is the first LEGO licensed CMF, because they've all been their own themes and different series, with the exception of the LEGO movie, but that is technically original to LEGO. Other than that, Simpsons is really the first one. And they introduced so many things, the dual molded arms and legs, and a lot of new pieces as well. Like, it really pushed the boundaries of what we can expect for LEGO, and I think we can all thank it for that. And I think for the most part, everyone translated very well in this lineup. Any characters I would want to see, I don't think we really needed them for Series 1, but I would like them for Series 2, but that's not here or there. And yeah, that's all I have to say in this video, so I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all later.